All right, happy Monday night, July 27th, just before 9 p.m. Wolf Nation Sports, Cornbread Man. Trying to get back on schedule somewhat. We're still working through some things, growing pains, different things going on. Just some have nothing to do with the podcast or the network, Wolf Nation Network, brought to you by. And I'm drinking something out, Wolf Nation Coffee. Man, I just got on, and I love it. I have just got my supply and resupply tonight. I was in the Shopify store, changed a couple things around, but I ordered a bunch of the single-use cups. Not allowed to use that K symbol. That's protected copyright. But single-use cups, but you know what I mean. Put the little cup in and you get a cup of coffee. We have both. We have the bags of coffee and the single-use cups. I almost said it. But I got on the maintenance with it. I've been meaning to do that. So that means you get a cheaper rate as well. There's 3 different options on those. You can get a sample pack of, and then I think there's might be a flavored single use. Then there's this regular blend, which are all great. I think this one is more like the house blend or breakfast blend. I think it's a house blend. Anyway, maintenance rate, so it means it's going to come in. You can get that once a week, or every 2 weeks, or once a month, or every 6 months, or something like that. I went ahead and did it monthly because we got through a lot of coffee in the studio, and we love this coffee, and we have some other brands too. We try to, hit the flavor for everybody, but obviously we have our own coffee brand, and have had for a long time. But now I get it on a rotation. I don't have to think about going and ordering it, and I think shipping's included. I think for that, when you get on the maintenance program, it's a couple of bucks cheaper a month that way. So, it's not a huge markup. It's very narrow at the lower ends. You get up in the higher order in bulk more, you're going to pay more. But we've made it very reasonable, and it is absolutely a great coffee. So anyway, I'm happy tonight. I just been so busy today. Believe it or not, I didn't have time to drink about half a cup of coffee. So I said tonight I'm drinking some coffee. Anyway, we're going to talk sports. We will have our racing show Wednesday. But we'll dabble in that a little bit, talk about racing. We're going to talk about football tonight. We're going to talk about baseball tonight, maybe a little bit about the WNBA as well, and the NBA. Just some news and notes as we go. Of course, we are deep in the the baseball, and after the break, and it is for us in the Southeast here that are Braves fans. It's been hard to watch leading up to the break, but the Braves have stretched it back out. But tonight, the Phillies are winning. The Phillies are winning, and the Bravos are losing right now. So the Phillies in the top of the eighth are winning 6-5 of the Marlins, and the Braves playing the lowly Mets. Although the Mets broke out the bats the other day, they may be playing a little bit better of late. But the Braves are losing 5-3. So it's 5.5 games. That would be 4.5 if that holds true. Braves got a little bit of time. It's mid-7th where the Phillies game is, I think, in the 8th inning, top of the 8th. So the Yankees are struggling, and listen, I'm not a Yankees fan, but it's pretty amazing to see how their bats have went cold. I mean, they were happy they scored 3 runs the other day and got a win. Well, when's the last time you hear the Yankees talking about that? I mean, people are cold, people are hurt. It's not pretty in New York for the Yankee side anyway. They're losing 3-0 to the Sox. Now, this Sox team is not bad. They're 55-49, and they're only, the Yankees are 59-46, so there's not much difference. So it's right now. And, Fried is on the mound. And he's gave up all 3 of those in 2 innings. Now, Fried, from being in his time with the Braves, this could go one of 2 ways. Fried always has that inning. Usually, Max Fried, usually he'll have an inning where he gives up a couple, 3 runs, sometimes less, and then he'll settle down. However, there are those games where he is just destroyed, and it's like he just gets off his rhythm. This could go. I think he's going to be okay in this game. He has given up 5 hits, but he has 4 Ks and only 1 walk. I think when Max Fried struggles, it's really when he can't find the strike zone. It looks like he's in there. He just maybe needs to lean it up a little bit. Not fatten it up, but lean it up a little bit. And as I say that, he's thrown 3 balls to Montgomery, and he walked it. So, has 2 walks. Let me take that back. Bottom of the 3rd, maybe this is one of those games he gets knocked around. So the Sox have a runner on, and and nobody out. So this might be that inning. If he does, it'll be like 7 runs. It'll be 7-0. So they may have caught him on an off night, but the Yankees are in a funk. I mean, they really are. For them, some teams would love to have that kind of funk, but they're in bad shape. I mean, they really are. For the Yankees, Diamondbacks winning 2-1 over the Pirates. These teams are very evenly matched in record. Runner on second. Reynolds at the plate. Orioles 8-5 over the Tigers. And now that Phillies lead, I see it's 7-5. They've got a runner on, the Phillies do. And so they're up 7-5 over the Marlins. Blue Jays, they've had a hard time finding wins, 48-58 on the year. I really thought this team would be a lot better. They're 22-28 away from their home field. And the Nationals have been playing really well. They're 3-2 over the Nationals. Again, that Mets 5-3 over the Braves right now. The Cubbies and Cardinals are delayed top of the 1st. I'm assuming rain. I don't know for sure. A little bit later, Astros, Angels, Red Sox, Athletics, Brewers, and Giants. That'd be a good game. Pitiful Giants, 44-61 on the year. Wow. Horrible. Next a go. Thank you for the follow on Rumble. We appreciate that. Guardians and the Reds. I hate saying Guardians, but and the Mariners final. Mariners 3, Rangers 7. So Rocker with the win, Kirby with the loss. So it's the only final so far. So this should be, you would think this would be in the Braves' favor. That's typical Braves. And it doesn't look good for, let's see here. It's in the bottom of the 7th. And there's 2 on, nobody out. Again, 5-3 Mets. Thomas pitching, Taylor at the plate. This does not look good for the Braves. Does not. N-O-T, capital N, not look good. But hey, Freed's battled back. He's got 2 outs. It's with a 3-1 count. And he got out of the inning. So Freed redeems himself. I hated the Braves let him get away. I know it was money. I like his moxie. He'll have that blow-up game every once in a while, but he really keeps you in games. Left-handed talent. I just hate seeing that happen. And the Braves should be a team that holds on to that talent. I mean, they've got some people right now that can't stay healthy, and they're paying them a lot of money. I think it's time to cut bait on some of those. Oh, yeah. Oh, yeah. It is now 8-3, the Mets over the Braves in the bottom of said 7th inning. And yes, the Bravos will lose tonight. They'll go to 62-44 unless a miracle happens. And they're still not out of the inning. There is nobody out. It's horrible. Braves are getting blown out tonight. So they really needed the Marlins to stand up here. You've got the Marlins are coming to bat down 7-5. Wow. Horrible. Horrible, horrible. And if when you look at standings, let me put these on the screen. Share the screen. Make sure this ad's not going to play. Share. If I can blow it up just a little bit, just a bit outside. Let's see here. There we go. The Yankees are 3 out. That's not a lot, and certainly they can come back over that. And they have held serve with the Rays 6-4 over the last 10. We see right here. But the Rays are playing really well. Look really strong. Although not on the road, but at home. Look at 38-15 at home. It's interesting. The Yankees are not that good. I mean, they're above 500, but they're better away. That's weird when it happens. I've seen that happen to the Braves. Red Sox still got a little whisper of getting back in, 7.5 out. Orioles, although been playing better of late, and Boston has been playing real well. They're 11.5 out. The Blue Jays are done. Stick a fork in them. 3-7 over the last 10. They're 48-58. 10 game under 500. They're done. 14.5 games out. Horrible. This is a great. Most of this division here is really tight. I like it. Sox over the Guardians 2.5. The Twins 3.5. Detroit 6. They started off really bad. They've been kind of coming back into it a little bit. They still got some room. That's a really good team. Not playing up to what it can be, but right now it's playing well. They don't play well on the road. You can see that. And the Royals, the hapless Royals, 11.5. Boy, the days of George Brett are long gone. The Rangers up 2.5 over the Mariners. Astros as well. Athletics had been climbing for a while. They were flirting around that 500 range. It's over for them. I predict the second half. They were probably they may sink to the bottom of that division, and they may be packing their bags for Nashville. I just keep thinking they're going to leave. They're going to leave. They're going to leave California and go to Nashville. That's I don't know if that'll happen. And the Angels. Well, it's a shame the Angels can't play better. There's those Bravos. 7-3 over the last 10. They played well. Not playing well tonight. Horrible. Um, but playing well. The Phillies just would move them back up to 4.5. Get under 5 games, that's what they always say, and then start chipping away. So this could bounce back and forth, but right now it's 5.5, soon to be probably 4.5. The Nationals have been, playing a little bit better too, so that's kind of keeping them just on the outside of being up there to battle. And the Marlins, not too awful bad, but their last 10 are horrible. They were playing well there for a while. And the Mets, although playing well tonight, 44-62 on the year. They were, I guess, still are the second highest paid roster in baseball to the Dodgers. Brewers up by 7 over the Cubbies. And the Cubbies are playing well. Brewers is playing lights out. But the Cubbies are holding on right there. Pirates, Cardinals, Reds. Boy, the Reds. Look at the Reds. Wow. 16.5 games out. Big Red Machine no more, huh? They got some good pieces, but this is a bad team. Bad team this year. Dodgers killing them. Let's go ahead and give them the title for the division because they're going to win that. And they might win it all again. It'll be a three-peat. Can they do it? That's really the question. I mean, they're definitely going to be in the playoffs. And they're definitely a great team. They can be beaten at times. Sometimes they've had some injuries, a couple of slumps by a couple of players, but that's why they have so much talent. They overcome that. They just keep throwing talent at you. And the Diamondbacks and the Padres and Giants, who were in the basement, the Rockies, have played so horribly because the Giants have been horrible all year. They actually said, "We'll play worse. We will take over the basement, that division. Who do you think you are, Giants, taking our position there? We want that. That's ours." I mean, the Giants were way out. They're only 22.5 out now. I mean, so it feels like it feels like the late 70s with the Braves. 200 fans in the stands. The announcers could be heard on the field. They get flipped off by the players when they said anything remotely critical. I mean, it's bad. Those teams were bad. They had some nice pieces, not great, nice for the most part. They had a couple players, 2 or 3, but not a whole team of them, and they were pitiful. So we'll see. These schedules just kicking off, most of them. I think all of them today. So they should hold true through Wednesday or Thursday for most of them. Atlanta will continue to play in New York, certainly through Wednesday. On Thursday, Atlanta comes home against Washington. It's certainly not a throwaway game. Washington's playing pretty well, but really the Braves, I mean, I know they're not playing well enough. They really should take care of business against New York and Washington. The Phillies, for their part, will be matched up. They've taken the day off on Thursday, and they will come back on Friday against Baltimore, which that Baltimore team's actually not bad. But actually, that's a little bit better advantage for Philly. And then that should go a 4-game set for the Bravos, I believe, into Sunday as we cross into the new month. Atlanta, all the way into, so it's a 4-game set. And then on Monday, let's follow a week from today. Actually, the Braves get a day off on a Monday. How about that? And then they will be at home against Miami. So this is not a bad stretch for Atlanta. The matchups are not bad. The Phillies play Washington. So we'll see. So as you get on down a little bit deeper, I don't go too far, but as you get a little deeper in that, Atlanta will be at New York again with a weird schedule. And, you got this New York thing going on. as they get deeper into August. And after that, let's see here. I should switch over on August 13th. And they'll be off that day. They'll come back in on Friday the 14th and are playing Arizona. So there you go. New York, Washington, Miami, Arizona. So we'll see. We'll see. All right, that's a little bit of NBA news, a little bit. The Philadelphia 76ers, oh, for the days of Dr. J. But they will be, have the king, LeBron, an elder statesman. If they mess this up, I mean, I'm a fan of his talent. I'm not a fan of him. Not in any way. I'm not putting him down. I'm not a fan of some of the things he does, says, mainly what he says. But he should make them better. Now, there's a lot of questions. Can Philly stay healthy? They're also bringing in Pope, and can he stay healthy? New York played so well. The Knicks, that is, they should be the favorite. They really should. Can the 76ers? I think they've got a chance to get it good enough to challenge them. But can they beat them? Who knows? Philadelphia in this last decade has been the team that coulda, shoulda. They've had some nice pieces. They've had nice teams. And really, it's been this way for a long time. The days of, Fo and Moses Malone and all those teams, great teams. I mean, they've had seasons where they played really well. They get in the playoffs and they just get walked at some point. I just never have felt like they've played up to their ability. I do like Maxey a lot, and I like that they're turning him loose a little bit more. They don't play fast break enough to me, but it gets down into this. I get it. They got the big man, and he's got advantages. He's a really good shooter anywhere on the court with his size and everything. But it just seems like it bogs down the offense sometimes. I'd like to see him be a little more upbeat. Maxey's out there, running up down the court with lanes opening up. He's such a great shooter, penetrator, passer, all those things. Not a selfish player. I love watching him play. But they should be better. Now it's going to be interesting to see how they spread the ball around. But they should be better. That doesn't mean that obviously LeBron can't play the whole game anymore at his age. He says 2 seasons. I think he's talking about hanging it up. But this is a good team. Phillies fans turn out in force. So the fan support will be there. Pretty nice team. We'll get in deep into that. But I think this is a good move for them. As they get into, they say, and we get started into going down the line and see how they do. But it's going to be the health is going to be the issue. Can they? It's always the issue with them. Can they stay healthy enough to be deep in the playoff kind of team? I kind of felt like they've went past. You always think of teams that are on the way up, and they kind of ride this really high level, and then players start getting older, not working as hard, maybe different things. Peace leaves, somebody comes in, you bring it, doesn't work out. But a little bit past, if this had happened 2 years ago, I say we would have won the thing. But at this right now, it's going to be interesting, where it stands. They've got Barlow at forward, Bona at center, obviously playing behind the man. Broom, they got a lot of size, 6'9", 6'10", 6'10". Jaylen Brown, again, that's a big strength for them, obviously. And a cool $57 million plus. Pope comes in from Georgia. I know he didn't come straight from Georgia, but he's 6'5". He is 33 years old. The rest of these guys are pretty young. I mean, they are getting the team a little younger. Uh, so I do like that. But there's also some age there. Embiid is 32, 7 foot, as we know, 280s at 58 million. There's still time. That's why I say there's time that's got to happen within those 2 years. Um, of course, LeBron is 41, 6'9". We know what he can do. He will win you some games by himself. They will be clutch shots. They will be, they're going to give him the foul calls. He's going to go to the line a lot. Um, you know, I think when the big men are in, there's going to be more of that, you know, ground and pound, not as much upbeat. And when they're kind of off, then you got some of these younger kids running up and down I say kids because they're kids to me, running up and down the court, just, going after it with Tyrese Maxey. It seems like he's been playing forever. He's only 25, 6'2", 200. Love watching him play. Duke Miles is 24 years old. Philon is 20. Rupert is 22. Simmons, 27. But they got some nice young pieces here. Jabari Walker, 23. Watford is 25. Dean Wade is 29. Just about to get to that 30 mark. We'll see what they do here as they continue to work this roster. But, I do think that they have some opportunities here. But like I said, you got Pope, who's had some injury trouble. LeBron himself has had injuries. And Embiid is always one bad landing on a knee or an ankle for being out a few games. He's amazing. He's such a big guy, and I love watching him play. Hey, Cindy. I love watching him play, but when he just gets in such awkward positions. He's such a great shooter, but it looks like he's going to fall down. It's like the Leaning Tower of Pisa. He's going down, and he hits him. But he's an awkward player for a big guy like that. Anyway, interesting. But I do like watching. I like Philly, and I like the Hawks. And I've always rooted for both. And poor old Hawks. I mean, they've not been good in a long time. Not really good. I like some. They're younger. They're getting younger. They're doing some things as well. I do like the Hawks, and I like some of the things they surprised me with some of the players that they've done well with. But I don't know if they'll ever get back. Atlanta sports outside of the Braves has really struggled, and who knows what the Falcons will do this year. I don't know. Like I said, the Hawks did get better. They did. They just didn't do anything, for playoffs. But they're another team that's gotten really young. I mean, there's only if this roster was to stay anywhere close to the same, only 3 players are 30 and above, maybe 4. No, 3. And that is Buddy Hield, he's 33. Landale is 30. McCollum is 34. But everybody else on this roster is 27 or below. And a lot of them are 23, 22, 19. You got a lot of young talent here. But can they pull it all together? That's the thing. And I don't know if all these will stay. But they have gotten the team younger, and that was a problem for the Hawks as well. They were getting pretty long in the tooth there at one time. They kept that group together pretty well, but they didn't really last. And injuries took a toll on them as well. But come on, it's the Hawks. I'm sorry, I go all the way back. I've been watching the Hawks since the mid to late 70s. I'll go all the way back to Dominique and before. So I do watch them. And I've gotten frustrated with the NBA. I try to keep up with it. I try to watch it. I don't like some of the things they do, which leads me to the WNBA. They've got to fix the problems. They're more recognized now than they ever have been before. And everybody's wrote about this. Nothing new. But this, it's like the whole league wants to be Bill Laimbeer. Or a lot of them. They just went to the, we're just, what they call that? What was it back in the day with Shaq? They just all hit him. He'd go to the line because he couldn't shoot free throws. Crazy for a big man. He had a horrible free throw, but he did everything else great. But there's Hack-a-Shaq. I couldn't think of it. Hack-a-Shaq. They just kept beating on him. Well, that's kind of what you're seeing now. And it's both, it's all over the place. And, there's a culture thing going on. There's, everybody's wanting to be the ESPN moment, be the star. And there's all this jealousy of Caitlyn and others, not just her, but she's definitely the poster child for that. And she's really, really good. She's not as big and strong as far as, she's a tall girl, but a pretty tall for a girl. She's not muscle bound like some of these athletes are. But she's put them on the map in a big way. Not that they weren't there before, but no, honestly, nobody's paying attention, not much. And now their salaries have went up. They get to travel a little bit better. They're getting some commercials, branding opportunities. But they're in trouble because they continue to have these issues. And I don't think they're going to do anything this year. Leagues don't. They could always call the referees and say, "Hey, we're going to start calling this a little tighter. You've got to, talk to the union or whatever." But I think changes are coming for 27. I mean, I think they're going to try. I hope to address some of that. But they continue to be in the news for all the wrong things. There is some good gameplay there. There is some good games. I've watched some of it. And it can be exciting. I mean, some people don't like, they don't care for female sports. I mean, there's just our guys like that. I do like watching the WNBA. I think there's a lot of talent. There's some good shooting, team aspect. But it is just delved down into street ball. And I've played some of that. I remember I was in the military, and we were in an outgoing unit. We were playing, just divided up, played against each other. And I played this guy. I'd like to meet him. He had to be 6'10", and I was just a little over 6 foot. But the guy that was playing, and I was playing like a off guard. I had a pretty decent shot back in the day, and I'd pass the ball and play defense. But anyway, I'm watching the guy and the guy with the big 6'10" guy. He just kept elbowing this guy right in the face. So the guy was just ducking out of the way, and this guy's just eating him up. So I said, "Let me go. I'll take your place." He's like, "You can have it." I could tell he didn't want to play it. So, I thought, well, we know how to do this. I mean, we're going to have to set a tone here. So there are times to do that. Now, I didn't knock him down, but what I did is because I watched somebody do, he'd get the ball, he'd throw the elbow, and when he knocked you back, then he'd turn around and do a hook or a shot or layup or whatever, even dunk the ball. So when he came around with the elbow, I just grabbed his elbow and shoved it back. So that became nearly a fight. And I thought, maybe that wasn't so smart. I'm looking up at this guy like, he goes, "What the blank was that?" I said, "That's the way it's going to be." So he's like, "All right." So, and I get in there, he's hitting on me. We're banging and clanging and all that stuff, and after about the third time, it got that I stopped him from scoring. And some of them, they weren't all hits. I mean, I started playing I was getting him out further from the basket. I was working him out to a little bit more. His dribble wasn't great, so I was able to slap the ball over a little bit. So this was getting heated. So we ended up winning the little game. It's just a pickup game, but it's the funniest thing. I laid on my bunk after it's over. I'm feeling pretty good about myself. It's pretty nice. We're playing boots. It's kind of hard. We didn't have tennis shoes on. They wouldn't let us wear them. So anyway, I look up and here he comes with two other guys. I thought, uh-oh, here comes the beatdown. He's got friends, and he didn't look happy. So he comes up there and he's like, he's cussing a little bit, and he's like, what was that, man? What kind of basketball is that? He said, I said, well, I was thinking the same thing about you, man. He said, well, that's why we play in South Carolina. I said, well, that's the way we play in Georgia. I was expecting at that point to be nominated for the beatdown parade. I thought, well, I'm going to give it all I got until the officers intervene. They were all bigger than me. I was skinny as a rail back in those days. You wouldn't believe it. I mean, I probably weighed $190. I was real thin. Tall, but thin. And for my, not real tall, but nowadays that's nothing in basketball. But anyway, the guy, he says, I like your moxie. You got guts. He said, the next time we play, I want you on my team. I said, sure. We never played. They ended up getting moved. It didn't happen. But a little respect goes a long way. And that's what, it was wrong what he was doing. He knew what he was doing it. And somebody stood up to him. And he didn't like it. But what are you going to do? So nobody really wanted to get in any kind of trouble. We were outgoing. So nobody wanted their departure date to be delayed in any kind of way because you get thrown the brig or they just add some time to you. So I didn't feel like it was too much they would do. Although there's always some things you can do. So you got to be ready for that. So it was interesting. NFL camps are opening up. Man, it's a horrible wreck by the 49ers coach, formerly of the Falcons. I guess a miracle to be alive, really. I mean, really not going to be ready. You're not going to be able to do much in training camp for the start of it anyway. Shanahan I'm talking about. And that's unfortunate. I hate that. I really do hate that for him. For anybody. My God. But the camps are opening up. We are going to have our Wolf Nation Fantasy Sports Night, which is going to be probably a Thursday night because Cowboy Cook is going to be a part of that. And who knows, he may pop in the chat here in a minute. And I'm hoping to get that going this week. And we got our own league that we do on CBS Sports, and we're going to kind of highlight that league. And I think we even got 2 or 3 teams open. We got to get our draft done. We got a lot to do. August is coming and the game, so late August we'll draft and we'll show those who's doing what every week. And if you'd like to play, it's $20. So it's just enough to pay for the league and pick a trophy out. We have a lot of fun with that. And I love the NFL. It's my favorite sport. I mean, I love college. Don't get me wrong. Love it, love it, love it. The NFL's always been my favorite. People get mad at me about, how could you not say that college sports is? Well, I love my Georgia Bulldogs. I love watching a lot of college football. But what I always heard this is what I always heard. I've said this before. What I always heard about college football. And I love it. Don't get me wrong. Love it. It used to be a season ticket owner. But all my friends or anybody I met that said NFL, wow, that's just a bunch of lazy pro athletes. Come on, they're not lazy. These are highly tuned in athletes. The speed is unlike anything in college for the most part. You might have a team or two that might challenge some teams, but then again, maybe not. But now, nowadays they get them ready so early, so maybe. But I always heard that, the college player played for the love of the game. And the NFL players were just lazy and rich, Well, they're out there getting CTE and everything. I don't think they're just sitting around. I think but I love both. I love the pageantry of college football, the fan experience, that college experience. I love all that. That's always been there. But the game has changed, and with all the money that's going into everybody wanted that. I get it. But they wished a little too much. Now they're not happy with what they got. Players moving all over the place. I think they need to tighten it up a little bit. I think there should be a little more rules in that. And players being pouty, not living up to their commitments, playing lazy. Looks a little bit like what they said the NFL was in some cases. Now, I like what Kirby Smart says. He said, if you don't want to play for Georgia, don't come here. We work. He's still old school. They still get the money. He's all for that. But he's not going to put up with that. And I think the SEC coaches, I'm not saying anybody else does. I am not saying that. But I'm a little closer to the SEC. And I'm not a Tennessee fan, but I like to cover all of the league. And I think Heupel has been pretty clear about that too. He's not going to put up with players not living up to their deal. You got to put it on the field. And I think they've been pretty clear about that. And in fact, they are so disgusted with the NCAA that there's talk of them leaving, just doing their own thing. I was a little bit of discussion about that on sports radio. I think it might have been Sirius XM. Can't remember which one I was listening to. That maybe that the SEC will leave, but maybe they would want somebody else to go. Kirby was asking about it. He's for it. They are sick of the rules, which I think all coaches are across the whole of 130 plus or whatever it is teams, or maybe more than that. I'm talking about, but the top league. But there is a lot of talk. So I don't know that they'll do it, but Sankey's for it, and I know there's some college coaches for it in the SEC. If they were to do that, I think there would be an expansion again, which I think there's going to be an expansion anyway. And the expansion, because there's going, we're already this league this year the playoffs expanded again. I think they will expand even more, possibly to 24. But anyway, 16 games. So it is expanded already. But if they were to do that, they would, you'd want a few more teams in the mix. You'd make a little more divisions or whatever you want to do. Right now, there's two sides or one whole thing or whatever. There used to be two divisions, but not. And some of the traditional ones they don't play anymore. It's kind of weird. Next two seasons, I don't think we play Tennessee. So they held Georgia's. They wanted to keep the Auburn Georgia game. There's Alabama, Auburn, stuff like that. But if they did that, I always wondered who would come in. And I think the ACC is in trouble. It has been. They don't make enough money. They don't make the money, and there's teams that are ready to jump, but they have such huge buyouts to the league. It's not conducive for that. But at some point, they're losing. I mean, some schools are losing $30 million a year. That's how much money there is, and to lose that kind of money, hey Desiree, thank you for the line. To lose that kind of money is, I mean, you just think over years how much money you're losing. And so a team like Florida State, Carolina maybe, and there's a couple others maybe. But then I heard, I never thought about it, that maybe somebody would go after Memphis. Now, I know they haven't played on a grand level, always up to the level of that other team, but that's a hotbed for recruiting, always has been. And that Memphis might be a package in that if they were ever to think about coming into the SEC, or if the SEC goes on their own, would they want to add, 4 more teams? I think there's a high probability. 20 teams just sounds right if you were going to do something like that. I've always thought North Carolina would be one of those teams. I like that idea. I've always liked North Carolina. I like not their basketball. I like their football. I like the uniform color. They always play pretty well. They're not great, but they play well. There's also some pretty good recruiting in North Carolina. It would be, I just think it would fit well. Another team is Clemson. Would Clemson consider coming in the SEC? I think yes. So, and they could be that there's a team or two that's asked to leave too. I mean, that's always that possibility. Some people have never been happy that Missouri's in there. Some are not real happy that Oklahoma's in there, or even Texas, but they're not going anywhere. But if nobody leaves, do you go, do you add 4 or whatever it is, whatever number is it, 16 or 18 now, but do you add some, and who do you add? And I think for the natural rivalry, it's just right there. As Clemson is ideal, North Carolina would be ideal for me. And who knows, you could go back to what it used to be. What if Georgia Tech came back into the SEC? I'm just throwing things out there. This is by far, I'm just talking out of my mind, which is bad, crazy. But I would love that. I think that would play well. It'd be great to have them in the SEC, even though I can't stand it. And see where that goes. And but would like a Big Ten or somebody come with them and they just form their own thing and just basically tank the NCAA and say, we don't need you. I don't know. But I know this, the coaches are sick of where this thing's headed right now. It's too wide open. Players come in, they leave after a year, and there's always been those rules in place. If a coach got fired or some other things happen, of course, if your school was penalized and they couldn't go to the playoffs or even a bowl game or anything, players could leave. I mean, there's been some rules like that, and I don't have a problem with some movement. But I think it's got to be very limited. And also, I think that um, what Kirby and them want is not these. It's getting to where players are hanging around forever. There's a lot of you got red shirts, gray shirts. I mean, you got different ones, and some of these guys that play, and the records are going to be all askew. And I get it because they messed the sports up in 2020 and 2021, or around that time frame, because they gave them another year. So you have players that were 6 years in college. I think it was one guy was 7 somehow. I don't even remember how that happened. But 5 and 6 years, and some of these guys played. I mean, it's all messed up. And I think they want to see a tightening of the rules, and the NCAA just turns their head. They don't listen. And at the same time, they're coming after them hot and heavy every day. And I realize you got to have regulation. You got to have rules you follow because we see what happens. But they come after you great guns all the time, trying to tear you up, beat you down, keep you from playing in playoffs and bowl games. Finding you money, huge amounts of money. And I from what I've heard, Kirby's comments and some other coaches, they can't, they don't want to say too much, but I think they're for it because they either fix it or yeah, let's do it. And they don't really need the NCAA. What does that do for a team like Notre Dame, who says we ain't joining nobody, football anyway, and where do they go and what do they do? So yeah, it's very interesting. So looking forward, we'll be covering our college too. We're a little man. We had so much going on. I've still got something. I know this is not wine time. It's just I'm not talking about the drinking kind, but we have had a lot going on here at the network as we're growing. We've got growing pains. We got new equipment in the box. I've got to get this hooked up, and we're just battling through a lot of things right now. And we've had some technical issues with storms we had in the area. It's getting a little bit better, and we're even going to make it better still this week. But we've got to get it. We'll do our college, preseason look, and we'll do our NFL, and that's going to be kicking off this week. Because we're fixing to go into August, so we're going to do a combo, like we'll do college, and we'll do NFL, and we'll just look at different teams and everything, as many as we can before the season gets started. It's a great time of year. Love it. It means fall's on the way. Oh, we need that. It's hot weather we're in. Pray for all the people in wherever they're at. I wanted to look a little bit. I was looking earlier at some news and notes from. Let's see what I do with that. Blah, blah, blah. I was looking at a few. That is not the one I was looking at. That is an NFL update, but I was looking at a different one, and I don't know what I did with that. Somewhere it's probably. That's the problem with 2 or 3 screens and about 40 different things to look at. Keep everything where it's supposed to be. Let's see here. Well, I don't know what to do with it. I'm thinking this guy doesn't know what he's doing. Probably so. But I've been doing it a long time, and I usually figure it out. Oh, my goodness. Let me go back. Back. I probably clicked off a screen and closed it and closed everything else with it. We'll go back. I wanted to look at the Braves are losing 14-3 now. Because you got bad night. Bravos have cashed it in. Not good. And Philly did win. No, Philly lost. Well, the Braves got lucky there. Phillies were on their way to win, and Miami come back and beat them. How about that? So, anyway, it's a loss. That's never good, but it doesn't hurt. They remain 5.5. What? Oh, they got lucky there. Let's go look at a little NFL. I had a great page pulled up, and I wanted to see what I did with that. Just some news and notes. How about this horrible story about Eric Bieniemy's wife shot by their son? There's so many details we don't know there, and all I can say is that I don't know what's going on. I as a parent, I cannot imagine my child shooting me or stabbing me, as we've seen with some of these high-profile cases. I don't know what happened there. If it's drugs or mental or just a domestic. I don't know. How do you shoot your mom? I mean, Mia Bieniemy, 57, she was shot multiple times, serious injuries. They say she's in stable condition. That's a miracle in and of itself. I've always liked Bieniemy, and he's that guy who's never going to be probably, but he's always been talked about as being a head coach. That they pass him over because of color. I always said there's something there in the interviews that's not playing well. I don't. It's not systemic because there's been black coaches that have been hired all over the league. I think he's a great guy. I think he's a great offensive mind, but he may not be head coach. And you know what? That's okay. There have been some wonderful coordinators for many teams who were absolutely great, either as a defensive coordinator or offensive coordinator, but when they became a head coach, it just wasn't for them. Same thing for college football coaches. Maybe they're not a NFL guy. Saban said, I did my time there, done. Great college coach, not so good in the NFL. It's just a different animal. Some people, it's just they're not fit for that role. And even though everybody from the outside says, well, he'd be like a great head coach, maybe not. I'm not saying this has any indication, but maybe there was just things there that bothered me. He actually came back to the Chiefs. He spent some time in other places, tried to build his resume and get up. But there's just sometimes people are not going to make it to the head coach, and I just feel like it's in the interviews. The same thing has happened on coaches that were interviewing with the Falcons or others, and I thought, this guy would make a great coach. And sometimes that's an owner, just being an owner, or the search team or whatever. But I think sometimes people just don't interview well. There's something that comes out. It's a feeling, a gut feeling. Maybe they didn't explain themselves. Maybe they just felt like it was a little bit too big for them to handle. Because it's a whole lot. It's one thing to be a coordinator. That's a heavy responsibility, week to week. I like what Todd Monken said one time at Georgia. And they talked about him being, just Kirby and what he thought about him. And he said, "Hey, listen, I'm on a day-to-day basis here." He said, "Don't worry." He said, "Kirby would fire my blank in a heartbeat if I'm not getting the job done." So he said, "It's pressure." So I'm not in some family where I just can't be fired. So I'd be fired quickly. He understands. So there's a lot of pressure on coordinator. A lot more pressure on a head coach. They've got to do all the press stuff. They've got to do all this. They've got to do more interviews. They're on the camera a lot more. They got to handle all the things with the team, deal with the owner. It's a big step up. The pressure, and if you're in a city like New York or somewhere like that, Philly or something, and then the pressure even mounts even more. I don't know that that's all of it. About 3 years ago, I just got the feeling that some of those coaches, some of those teams went on, a couple of my times, I think they went on to hire a black coach. I just felt like he just, for some reason, didn't, it just didn't fit. Great coordinator, though. Elijah Zine Bieniemy was arrested and charged with malicious wounding, use of a firearm commission of a felony, and discharge of a firearm inside of a dwelling, according to the Loudoun County Sheriff's Office. According to sources that told ESPN that Mia was shot in the chest and arm. Horrible. I mean, you can imagine the chest. The arm is bad, but chest, not good. Coach Andy Reid said our hearts go out to Eric Bieniemy. He said you hate to see those Mia stable, which is a plus. We all love EB, as he calls him for short, and you hate seeing these things happen. Reid said there's no timetable on Bieniemy's return to the Chiefs, adding that passing coordinator Joe Blameyer will take over his duties during his absence. We'll just see how things go. By the way, I love Andy Reid as a coach. I do. This is real life. You take care of that. She's a saint, one of God's good blessings, but things happen. The shooting was at their home in Ashburn, Virginia, North Park Drive in Ashburn, Virginia. Andy Reid said these kinds of things happen, but there's always a blessing in there somewhere. I know things will work out. The most important thing is that EB had an opportunity to spend some time with his family and take care of that business. Everybody loves EB. He's a great person. Things happen. You have to work through it. Time will tell. And Tom will have to be involved in this to help heal a little bit. It'll all work out in the long run. I would say, this young man is going to be in jail for a while, and it would have been for the rest of his life probably, or most of it, if sadly if she had died. And how do you ever? I mean, how do you bring, depending on what the circumstances was, how do you bring your son back in your home after that? That's a lot to work out. That's a lot to unpack. I wouldn't want to. Nobody would want to deal with that. Bieniemy has helped the Chiefs reach 3 Super Bowls and win 2 of them while helping direct one of the NFL's best offenses. As I say, he's one of the best coordinators in the league, especially for that system. He has interviewed for several head coaching jobs, but was continually, they say, skipped over. Again, it's a hiring process and not necessarily skipping it. But this whole idea that you are somehow uh, knighted to be the next person to be hired, that's bullcrap. That is what the league is trying to push. You hire the best person you think is going to take your team to what? The Super Bowl. And if that's not your goal, sell the team. You hire the person that you believe has the total game plan, the total package, on the field, off the field, whatever, to get, what's your philosophy offensively, defensively. You got many times you're coming in, you got to hire coaches who fit that, bring them with you, whatever. He certainly has the offensive mind. He could be the head coach like Andy who calls the plays. But skipped over, again, they felt at that time that there were others who were better suited for it. They always want to bring that in. He went to Washington in 23 in hopes of burnishing his resume, but the team struggled, and Coach Ron Rivera's staff was let go. So, see, sometimes these things don't work out. He also went to UCLA and worked last season as a running backs coach for the Bears. I'd say he's happy to be back with the Chiefs. Yes, I'm sure there's still that in his line, in his heart. He wants to be the head coach, and maybe he'll get that. Maybe it may still happen. There's still enough time. It would have to happen fairly quickly. Another good article here, I just happened to notice, was on the Browns. What a mess. I mean, the Browns, they seem to they had it all working their way. Great team, talent all over the field. And then you get the Deshaun Watson debacle. What else can you say about it? I mean, he already had all the red flags. So you spend all that money, bring him in, and it just hasn't worked out. So they got Deshaun, they got Shedeur Sanders. In the early spring practices, the two split the reps, they said. I do like that, and this is interesting because I love the coach. I mentioned him earlier. First year head coach Todd Monken. Now there's a coordinator, and so this is hope for Eric Bieniemy. I thought that Todd Monken would forever be a coordinator. And I'm going to be honest. I like his moxie. I do. There will nobody back him down at a press conference or something. And I wish him the best. But I kind of think this is going to be another one of those where the offensive coordinator comes up and he's a coordinator. I'm not sold that this is a great move. And unfortunately for him, he's going to a team that has struggled so much. Don't get me wrong, I love it. I love Todd Monken. His days at Georgia, fans dream of having him back. And that's no shot at Bobo. People just liked his philosophy. But Bobo's put up a lot of numbers, but people would tell you they'd rather have, a lot of Georgia fans would tell you they'd rather have Monken back. It's not going to happen. He was always an NFL guy. He dips down in college, and look what he does. It's amazing. And he's always performed, but he's a head coach. First year head coach, Todd Monken. So he's got to figure out the quarterback. If you don't have that, then you're writing it in anyway. And let's be honest. He was brought into Baltimore. And I got to be honest, now that may not be his fault, but I really believe that the Ravens would win a Super Bowl. I felt like they had the talent enough all over the field. And to me, the breakdown was at quarterback, which is not a good sign. Now, he does great things in calling plays for quarterbacks. But I just felt like Lamar Jackson, I don't know if it was the moment. I'm not sure what it was. They threw more than he ran and all that stuff. They just didn't get it done. Just did not get it done. Now, granted, you had really good teams like Philly and some others who came along and were very talented as well. But I really thought Baltimore had the total package. And I don't like Baltimore. Just being honest. I thought that they were – I just thought they would. he goes to Cleveland and he's got this dilemma. Now, no doubt, they both have talent. And Deshaun Watson, at one time, he looked like he was going to be, like the next great one. They also have 2025 third-round pick Dylan Gabriel, who made 6 starts as a rookie, and Taylon Green, 6th-round pick out of the draft. And so where you go, Deshaun Watson is 30 years old. It's hard to believe, right? He just seems to me, I know he's been around a while, but I just thought he was like 28. He's 30. He has a 33.1 total QBR rating since he made his Cleveland debut. It would rank last among qualifying quarterbacks if he had enough starts to qualify. So it is a crossroads. And the Achilles tendon is not an easy one. They clear you, but you're always a little bit worried that that's going to happen. Do you push off as hard? Somebody steps on your foot, it just takes a while. It's really that much harder than the knee anymore now. Had 2 surgeries for that. Missed the whole 25 season. When he's been as they say, when he's been on the field, he just hasn't been able to recapture his former Pro Bowl form. In 19 games, he's 9-10, and he's threw just 19 touchdowns. They say he's healthy. He's excited to be paired with an offensive-minded coach. And coaches obviously praise him for his form and physical abilities. He is still at the age where he could have a really good season. I wouldn't bet that at Vegas, though. It's the Browns, and I'm sorry. They just always – it's like the Falcons. They totally will mess this up. We'll see. Shedeur, obviously Deion's son, 24. Stat to know, they say Sanders had an average time to throw of 3.24 seconds, the longest of 38 quarterbacks who made at least 6 starts in 25. Got to speed that up. He has worked his way up the depth chart, made his debut in Week 11. He was thrust into action. It was a struggle, 4 of 16, 47 yards, 1 interception. He bounced back the following week against the Raiders, get his first win. He was QB1 for the final 7. He was 3-4, had wins against Steelers and Bengals. And again, they said he held on the ball too long. They say he's done well in the offseason workout program, including his grasp. He's a smart kid. Of Monken's offense, ability to get through his progressions more quickly. And it does take a while to get used to the pro game. I think it's clear. Watson will get every shot to take this. Shedeur is there waiting in the wings if he does it. That's simple. Yeah, I don't see it as a 50-50. They need Deshaun Watson on the field. If he can't, then he won't be on that team. They're going to need a lot of money, but they need him to play for the money, for the talent he has. And if he gets hurt, then you got Shedeur who can come in. And most of them get hurt. Dylan Gabriel's 25. He averaged 5.7 air yards per attempt last season. Not exactly lighting it up. Lowest among all 38 quarterbacks. This is the Cleveland quarterback room. Last and of all 38. Continuing. So I'm not looking. Gabriel was a pinpoint passer, but played in a risk-averse brand of football during his 6 starts as a rookie. His accuracy and decision-making will have to be his calling card as a limited athlete. I just don't know. Taylon Green, maybe the wild card in the whole bunch. He accounted for over 7,000 yards, and he has a lot of talent. If you watched him play in college. In 2 seasons at Arkansas, he was the second most in the SEC since 24, trailing only former Vanderbilt quarterback Diego Pavia, which was released this week. So we'll see. He has 6'5". This guy has great intangibles, right? 6'5", 227. And he ran the fastest 40-yard dash time for a quarterback at the combine, 4.36 seconds. Has rare physical gifts, but he's going to need some time to polish his game. So this may be the guy that's waiting behind all of them. You got to love his size. You got to love his ability to move. Let's see what he can do reading the NFL defense. holding on the ball, things like that. He's also not going to be the starter, but this might be by the end of the season. This might be the guy they're looking at for 20, in the next year, 27, 28. Monken and Barry, they're trying to shorten his release a little bit. They're using his physical attributes in specialized packages, so he will come on the field some. He'll have to show enough progress as a passer summer, not only make the roster, but be active on game days. Because again, you can't hold too many quarterbacks. Sometimes they only have two. It's a tough roster. I mean, you need all the defensive players and offensive linemen and that you can get out there. Monken says he's been impressed with his ability to really learn, process, and take it to the field, and then getting through his progression is really impressive. That's high praise. Monken doesn't throw that around. He's not going to blow smoke. Monken shoots it straight. They don't have a problem telling you what you need to get right. So I like that. I just can't wait. It's just so exciting to be talking about football, right? So it's so exciting. And there's some great matchups on the first week. It's only, the first game is 9/9, September 9th, 8:20. They have that early game. Then they're going to have the second game. You got New England, Seattle. What a great start. And then you have San Francisco and the Rams one day later. That's the better game, actually. I like New England. Look what they did. And then against Seattle, they've done some up and down. That's a good matchup. San Francisco Rams, great matchup. A great matchup. And get this, I forgot this. That'll be on the Netflix. I have to watch Netflix. The contracts are so high now for all these sports leagues, whether it's NASCAR, football, whatever. You have to have a scorecard to see where to watch the games or watch the race. I hate it. I don't mind the Prime games. Now, I've been a Prime member a long time, and I think they do a good job as a rocky start. They do a good job with sports now. I got to give them credit. The Falcons in Pittsburgh, Baltimore, Indy, another really good one, Buffalo and Houston. Some say Buffalo's ready to take the next step, that maybe Josh Allen is the MVP candidate for the league. Chicago, Carolina, another nice matchup. Carolina's came a long way. Chicago should be the favored. Cleveland has Jacksonville that first game. It's a good defense. We'll see how many interceptions they get. Detroit, New Orleans, that's another good matchup. See how far down we can go. Jets and Tennessee play that in that first week. Another good one could be Tampa Bay, Cincinnati. If Cincinnati is all back healthy and good, that's a team that can win a lot of games this year. And Tampa Bay is not bad either. Green Bay, Minnesota, that's always a good matchup. Another bad one, Miami, Raiders. Washington, Philly, only if Washington is playing better. Dallas and the Giants, that's a really nice matchup on Sunday night. And then your Monday night game for that first week, Denver and Kansas City. Wow. Can't wait. That just gets me excited even talking about it. Let's see if there's any. Oh, yeah, the Commanders fired their tight end coach following the DWI charge. How stupid can you be? My God. Romo, another one. Now, he's not going to get fired. But, dude, come on. These guys are rich, a lot of them. Maybe the tight ends coach is not rich, but he's got friends. What the heck are you doing? Another quarterback coming back from Achilles is Daniel Jones. He said he's fully cleared to play. That's a hard injury. I'm telling you, it's a hard injury to get over. It's mental, if nothing else. So anyway, the Bills unveil a new gray Nickel City alternate uniform. This is interesting for the Bills. Let's put this on the screen. Put that on the screen. What do you think about that? Like that. That's a little different for them. All these teams like to come up with different uniforms. It helps the sales. You can push things. That's not terrible. I'm still a big fan of the blue. But that's not bad. A little different look, but I like that. A little industrial look behind him. So whoever picked that, they knew what they were doing. And that's what they're paid to do. The alternate all gray jersey pants combination with the charge helmet. So an alternate. Nice. I like that. Oh, I've been on for an hour. I over an hour. Get talking sports, man. It's a lot of fun. There's still some, you know, some free agents out there. There's still some that are signing. There'll still be a few. There's still some looking for jobs. Some that are going to be cut. A lot are going to be cut. You know, they always go in heavy. A lot of people are going to lose their jobs. Some will go to practice squads. So we'll see. But here we are. The camps are opening. The news will start, and the injuries will start happening as well. Another thing, and I'll get off of here. CTE is not going to go away. Much as I love the game, I don't think nobody can deny that there's more needs to be done in the area of protection. I don't know what they can do, but CTE is going to continue to dominate the conversation. I think they're doing a really good job with this. You know, back in the days, they just sent them back out there, right? Nowadays, they're doing a good job of pulling those players. But even at that, those injuries are still mounting up, and they're going to have to do more. There's just more research needs to be done. And honestly, some of that could be the seeds of it could be coming from college before they ever even get there. So colleges don't get a pass, even though they're young. The damage could be starting there. I think better research, you know, just able to really study it better. Technology will get better, and they'll just figure out more as they go. We're not talking about going to a flag football league. They're going to still hit. They got to figure this out more. And I don't believe the quarterback should just be left, you know, on an island where nobody can touch them. You know, they're just got the red jersey on. No, you can't have that. But they got to figure this out. And I think they have slowed down the cases some, but I think it still happens. But again, some of that went way back to maybe even youth football. You know, some of these leagues that come out of, they may have already started that course way back. So it's not just an NFL problem, but they're toward the end of the line. They're going to have to deal with it, and that's where the suicides and, you know, rage behavior, whatever, and there's other things as well that could be happening. If not rage, we'll say unusual behavior. You know, weird things happen. It's not normal for a person, and they believe that some of that, not all of it, is CTE. So it's still going to be. And then you got players like Tua for Atlanta. You know, you wish for a guy like that. He's been able to. He's not been damaged lately as he was early, but he's already taken some vicious hits. You know, he's still playing. He wants to. He should be allowed to as long as he's cleared medically. But can this guy hold on to? Can he stay that player that can be contributing, and will he, you know, is he affecting his chance for a decently long life? You know, that's something we're going to find out in years ahead. I may not be around to see it. He's a lot younger than me, but will he be able to live a long and healthy life after the game? So this is going to be a big test for him, I think, this year with the Falcons, because they never do a great job of blocking for their quarterbacks. They do good sometimes, but not great. They've got a decent line. I wouldn't say it's great. There's a couple of holes there, or could be holes. And I wish him the best. And Penix with his knees, both of them, I think both of them are candidates for the IR during the season, maybe at the same time. All right, Wolf Nation Sports. We'll try to be back tomorrow night as well, and we'll update you then on some of this. Braves avoided one. They could have lost bad there, at least for a game. Go Marlins. Let's see you next time. Thanks for those that stopped by and said hey, and have a blessed night. Take care and God bless.